it's like a spirit that hasn't like moved on out of place in the current material world. That upper arpeggio is really exemplary of like everything to do with that concept because which doesn't fit. It's time for some video game music analysis, where I listen to songs from games I haven't played before, suggested by viewers like you. I don't pre-listen to anything, I pull them up live on stream, so you get to see my authentic reaction and listen to me figure things out as I hear it. You can catch me doing this live without any of the edits at case.dog/stream. I think let's start with Lavender Town. Now, I have heard this song a zillion times, despite not playing Pokémon Red, but it's around. Like I said, it's a creepypasta song. Let's listen to this all the way through, at least to a loop point or something, and then I'm gonna go back through and try to break it down. Lavender Town from Pokémon Red. This was suggested by Stellar Kuma in the chat. There's that Game Boy like limited percussion, just like a shaky snare every once in a while. So we have like a sort of bass line, like a low counter melody. It's gone now. We have this upper arpeggio. And then we have a different voice doing the melody. It sounds very dissonant, very creepy, but it could all just be sticking within one scale and tricking us. I feel like it's gotta have one borrowed note. I remember people saying that this song had like a frequency that would damage kids' ears, but I feel like the Game Boy speakers probably weren't capable of putting out a like real frequency range that could do that. That was a hoax? Oh yeah. This is a very lo-fi chip. I don't think it'd be capable of doing that. Some of the way that the undertones between things clash in this are pretty rough though, I will say. Compared to a remake version, it's still going. It's sort of, okay, so there's really only one section to this. It just sort of picks which layers to play at any given point. So like everything is on a loop, but it just drops instruments out and adds them back in. I think this may be different. Ah, okay, and then we have one tail. So that's one thing that's different. Either fire red or leaf green. Yeah, let's pull that up just to have it. That weird kazoo sounding wave, God. Yeah. I think we have looped over. I think that one tail was bringing it back into the loop point. Yeah, and does that again. All right. So the thing that like holds this whole piece down is this arpeggio right at the beginning. Ah, I see. So, right away, that is technically like a C major 7, sort of. Could also be that. But the first weird thing about it is when it does it spells up that chord, and then instead of going back down to the 5th, which would make it sound more contemplative, it steps down to a tritone between these two. And it pretty much does that the whole time. I don't think that changes at all over the course of it. Yeah, that's there the whole time. And that's sort of just serving as like a subdivision of the rhythm the whole time, you know? So, bass-wise, the bass line is super simple for this. So, it starts on E, so let's consider this our root. That recontextualizes this whole upper chord here. Since this is an augmented 5th that we're starting with in comparison to what the bass note is starting with, so. Now that it's basically spelling out a E minor flat 13 is what that's doing. Which doesn't fit, like the upper chord basically doesn't really fit what's going on underneath it. These two notes make it an E minor, but you add this like, this flat 6 in, and it is now a really weird chord, and very sad, even when you just... that weird shift that it does. This, when the root moves down, it makes this chord and G at 11 or D7 when it lands. Oh, this actually is a full C major 7. Another G at 11. These are not chords, right? This upper part doesn't mesh well with all of the stuff the bass voice is doing. Like, there's no... This isn't like an upper arpeggio on the 5 or something that you would usually get when you have like... like something like that. Usually when you have arpeggios going up and down at the high end in the background of something, it's usually something that'll mesh well with the chords underneath it. But it's just not doing that. Which lends it a lot to the feeling of like either being out of place or really creepy, really dissonant. If you notice, without that top creepy arpeggio, the melody here is actually way more somber. Except for that last note. That last note is very creepy. It doesn't go with anything, doesn't resolve. Just as I thought, that last borrowed note here is just sort of between two of the bass notes and doesn't appear in any of the other bass chords. But that first section, that is a very sad melody. I feel like without the contextualization of the top doing the... It sounds more sad than creepy. This whole thing up here is harshing the mellow of the rest of the song. Those sections of the song are pretty much all of that song. And it does the same thing here, where it moves into another weird... It changes the last note. It's not an octave above what it ended on before. It's actually a half note lower, but an octave up. Which is actually one of our root notes. It's also the bass note of the... It's the bottom note of that. So when it does land on this, it almost does sound like a resolution because it can mesh so well with the... So it resolves not with the bass, but with the weird melody that's above it. Sort of. The first time it doesn't do that. And if these were in the same octave, it would have that weird clash to it. So it is definitely trying to sound dissonant. It goes out of its way to end on very dissonant notes. So that, yeah, like I said, that's it. Those are the only real elements of that song. I was wrong. There is a very short, like, tail section. And all that's really doing is copying the notes from the... but taking out the lowest one. And then it goes back into the... that. And then the bass does a little... to mimic what the upper melody does. And it returns. And that's it. That's the whole song. It's just a few simple elements. And even in the remake version, though they have more doubling and more voices doing things, all of the elements are the same. And some weird haunting percussion that's been added too. Thank you, Queen Snarf, again for gifting a tier 1 sub to Koneko. Welcome back. You now have a moon next to your name again. This is very simple. It does a really interesting thing by just having this stubborn... One common conception of ghosts, it's like a spirit that hasn't like moved on, and something that is like, you know, out of place in the current material world. And I feel like that is... that upper arpeggio is really exemplary of like everything to do with that concept, because it doesn't fit in with what's going on below it. And it never goes away. Through the whole thing, it never goes away. Even when instruments die out, it's there. It's just kind of there in a cycle. So I think it's a really good use of musical symbolism. And the fact that, like I said, if you remove this melody, it's still a little bit creepy because of the way it ends the phrases, but it also just is way more sad and somber without this ghost of an arpeggio hovering over it. And that's sort of the effect that it gives, is just like a thing that shouldn't be there, hovering over everything. And I think that's just a really effective use of very few voices for this game here on the Game Boy, and making really good use of them. I would give Lavender Town, as far as a rating, I would give both the original and the remake songs of Lavender Town, I would give this 5 out of 5, because it does the most it can with the medium very simply to convey the environment and the experience. And because it's lived on so long, it's really good at getting stuck in your head, and the part that you remember is the thing that stays over the course of the whole song. You remember that because it is so constant and because it contextualizes the rest of the song underneath it. Usually you have bass changes and stuff like that that will recontextualize stuff that's over it, but it seems like no matter what is happening around or under this arpeggio, it's all downstream of the effect that that arpeggio produces. And everything else without it, it's a different song. It does not have the same vibe. And the fact that they just needed one voice in the GBA's like limited palette to create that effect and use everything underneath it, it's commendable. But that was Lavender Town, suggested by Stellar Kuma in the chat. It's the first 5 out of 5 today. All right, how do you think I did? If you like the analysis, hit like. If you want to see more stuff like this in the future, hit subscribe and the bell to make sure you see when new videos go up. Let me know what you think. Is there anything you think I missed? Let me know in the comments. I would love the feedback. If you want to catch me doing this live without any edits, just figuring things out as I go, you can check out case.dog/stream and see when I'm live. And if you want to submit a song yourself, you can check out my Discord channel for it at case.dog/VGM. I'll see you next time.